The Philippines today has scenes of such abject poverty that it's hard to believe it was once touted as one of Asia's tiger economies. A new, ambitious president is inspiring a small surge towards revitalizing the economy, but several questions still remain. Can the current administration help it move towards higher growth path and ultimately better and more lucrative jobs for its people? And how far along has the Philippines come on its path to reinstalling itself as a tiger economy? In the Philippines, the Aquino surname carries with it a legacy and a huge responsibility to the people. Something President Benigno Simeon Aquino III, or Pinoy to his constituents, is well aware of. His administration, which started in 2010, ushered in a renaissance of sorts, a time of renewed hope in the political system after what seemed like years of blatantly tolerated mass corruption. To date, the President has proposed several initiatives in order to push through difficult economic changes meant to strengthen the country.
Through our public-private partnership initiatives, we are also optimistic about enticing investors and businessmen to enter into fair, mutually beneficial, and productive partnerships with the government to build infrastructure and to undertake other economic activities.
A sustainable growth plan is essential to the growth of this nation. One can see this need by taking a look at Makati, a microcosm of the nation and its financial heart. The district is buzzing with new activity, with growing businesses and investments at record highs. Makati has turned into the hub for virtually anything, making their tagline of "Make it happen, make it Makati" all the more apt. The country understands that the key to tomorrow may lie in Makati becoming a city of the future. Can the Philippines rise up to the 22nd century challenge of a green and sustainable way of expanding? The good news is, it certainly is possible to create a near-zero energy building. Properties that only require a small amount of energy. And although they may be expensive now, continuing research will ensure that this will not always be the case. A look at certain parts of the country suggests that engineers certainly have the capability to create structures marrying what a business needs and what the future demands. Makati certainly looks up for the challenge, but sustainability, by definition, encompasses different sectors and different industries. Can other growth industries incorporate a sustainable outlook in their day-to-day operations? The Philippine government faces an urgent need to become the nation's environmental steward and leading innovator in sustainable solutions. Much like the many different cultures that abound in the Philippines, the country, with over 7,000 islands, is also rich in both natural and man-made wonders. The Philippines has everything for every kind of traveler, from lush beaches and picturesque mountains to posh, sophisticated cities with a vibrant nightlife, wild, undiscovered regions just waiting to be explored. Hospitality is ingrained into every Filipino's mindset, yet another thing that adds to the overall beauty of the archipelago. And the world is certainly taking more notice now.
If you take January of this year as any indicator, we are now growing at about 17%. And we hope to be able to sustain that so that we end this year with just a bit under 5 million. The medium-term goal is to end 2016 with over 10 million tourists. And we're confident that if we are able to keep the double-digit growth up, we will get there. The long-term goal, therefore, is not about just counting tourists. It's about counting the number of jobs we create and the number of business opportunities we create. So much so that we are able to now count tourism as 1/5 of the economy of the Republic of the Philippines.
More and more opportunities for lucrative employment open up as a result of the spike in tourist arrivals.
In the Philippines, we have already about 3.2 million jobs created directly out of just 3.7 million tourists. It's almost like there is one job for every tourist that comes along.
And this is thanks in part to a new campaign that claims it is more fun in the Philippines.
The Philippines is not just a place to see, it's a place to be. It's a more participative place. People join in activity, and therefore it's more fun.
The campaign works, and more people find the slogan to be true. But the successful revitalization of the industry comes with a potentially high price. Tourists tend to take more than pictures, and the well-being of the very areas that they are visiting are in danger. The solution is simple: education of both visitors and locals, in order to properly preserve the country's natural beauty.
Our government continues to promote the beauty of the Philippines, and we're very proud of the natural resources that we have. But in order to be able to ensure that more people will be able to enjoy this, there are programs out there that promote ecotourism. Well, one of the projects we have is in a municipality in Donsol, wherein you have the whale sharks. People can actually swim with the whale sharks, but there is a protocol by which we've helped develop with the community to ensure that while tourists come and enjoy themselves, they get to see nature, they're also giving back to the community and also giving back to the environment, and ensuring that it's not going to be destroyed because they're visiting it.
Progress continues to be made, but the infrastructure already in place will eventually prove lacking as the number of tourist arrivals steadily increase.
We make no secret of the fact that the Philippines has much to do in terms of catching up with infrastructure, and that's exactly what we're doing. Very few people realize that already more than half of all the infrastructure that is devoted to the budget in 2012 and 2013, and possibly even 2014, will be on infrastructure that is related to tourism. So there is a very strong commitment to overcome this, what everyone refers to as an infrastructure gap. Will it take time? Of course. It takes time for cement to dry, but we will overcome it. Ecotourism, or the sustainability of any touristic enterprise, especially when it involves the environment, nature, adventure, can only be had when there is involvement by the people, basically. And people get involved if you ask them to get involved.
Efforts to revitalize the stagnant tourism industry have been successful so far. However, the success of these efforts relies on a skilled and invested populace to be able to be properly executed. As the third largest English-speaking country in the world, the Philippines is known for its friendly, smart, and hard-working people. In fact, some might say the Filipino people is one of the greatest resources that the country has. Satisfactory reviews on famous tourist spots will more often than not make mention of the warm hospitality that made their experience more memorable.
Everybody knows that tourism is the business of the people.
In the business process outsourcing industry, international giants have already taken notice and are slowly making the move from longtime BPO stalwart India to the Philippines. Filipinos have been known to be a highly capable workforce, eager to learn, with a faster learning curve, and a better grasp of the English language compared to neighboring countries.
A highly trainable population because of their exposure to different influences from around the world. As an archipelago and an island country, we are open to all influences that come from left and right. And this openness augurs well for foreign investment in this country.
Developing countries have a constant fear of brain drain. Its best and brightest leaving to pursue better lives in more developed countries. The same youth who profess their love for their country still tend towards learning skill sets needed in other countries instead of their own. It's the classic tension between idealism and practicality, doubt and belief. And yet, the outlook is still optimistic, even among those who were once part of the mass migration.
I think the brain drain is an issue, but what you see more and more right now is people actually coming back. People are wanting to come back to contribute and make a difference and be counted, because it's a period of resurgence, it's a period of good governance.
Although most of the privileged youth, the ones who have been blessed with a gift of first-rate education from the best schools, are still leaving for now. There is a new segment, albeit small, of young people who represent the country's new hope.
When you look at the Philippines, we have a very interesting educational system. Every time that there is an institutional, what I would call an institutional void, private sector moves in and builds the capability. What you have is a situation where the country adapts very quickly, and we generate a lot of very skilled, talented labor to actually go into the global arena. The talent pool of the Philippines is very strong. I think the educational system, because of the partnership of the government and the private sector working together, I think that's created a lot of agility, the ability for the system to adapt, and therefore export future talent.
Education is still the biggest key to overcoming most of the challenges that have made growth in the Philippines stagnate.
Geocentricity may well be a thing of the past, and the only viable strategic response to such an occurrence of globalization would be for us, for our country, to produce more and more high-quality graduates, and for our Philippine-based companies to compete for their services.
There is a strong clamor from both the government and the private sector to lengthen the education cycle in order to ensure that future graduates are globally competent.
And I am with the steering committee of the current reform that is being undertaken by the Philippine government in its basic education cycle, which is the move from a 10-year basic education cycle to a 12-year basic education cycle. A task that certainly we cannot perform without being very sensitive to the needs of industry, government, and other sectors that will need the graduates of these programs.
The social divide is made more, marked by the quality of education that the underprivileged are being given. To this end, funding and support must be had to make public education systems at par with the country's leading private institutions.
St. John Baptist de La Salle, the founder of this institution, has been very much concerned about that same problem way back 300 years ago. And his solution has been basically that of making sure that the poor get access to education. It's the best way by which you can level the field, making sure that the poor are able to look straight into the eyes of the rich.
With better education for the less privileged, more and more of the middle class are filling out the ranks in industries like BPOs and are thriving because of it. These youths are also leading the charge in other areas, entering industries where the country can yet dominate.
We think that the first step in that direction would be to get ourselves recognized as being up to international standards. The bigger picture would be for Philippine schools to develop not just specialty skills but higher level skills so that the country can move up in terms of the level of competitiveness from what is called resource-driven competitiveness, to investments-driven competitiveness, and ultimately to innovation-driven competitiveness.
The field of engineering and technology is one such industry where future graduates can shine, and its full potential in the Philippines has yet to be fully realized.
We are helping Philippine industries as well because they have to have this kind of engineers and computing professionals to be able to compete globally. And furthermore, even our engineering services sector to be able to get contracts abroad.
Research into sustainability practices and into finding ways to gradually wean the country off its dependence on conventional sources of energy is also an industry that promises to grow more in the coming years.
We'd like to think that this is the best contribution we can give our country, to be able to create this new knowledge, to be able to create new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking, so that we can solve some of the more urgent problems that we have today.
Sustainability is a problem not only in the Philippines, but worldwide as well. As a result of rising prices of oil, everyone is scrambling for the next big breakthrough in alternative energy research. And it's exciting to think that this worldwide problem of renewable energy may be solved in a country that otherwise has problems with sustainability. The Philippines has seen the benefits of renewable energy, and the government, as well as nonprofit organizations and the private sector, are working hand in hand in order to push the technology further.
WWF is guided by its global vision for a 100% renewable energy future by 2050. In the Philippines, we work with a research institute at the University of the Philippines to produce a renewable energy roadmap for the country. In 2008, the Philippine Congress finally passed the Renewable Energy Act that will accelerate renewable energy development in this fossil-poor but renewable energy-rich country. But we still have a lot of work to do.
The field of geothermal energy holds much promise. As the world's second largest geothermal energy producer in the world, the country's Asian neighbors are starting to take cues from the Philippines on how to better harness this natural source of energy.
The Ring of Fire also seeks to establish sustainability standards for geothermal energy to ensure that geothermal energy development benefits local communities and the national economy, assist in forest protection and biodiversity conservation, and contribute to global efforts to prevent dangerous climate change.
And geothermal has been a great asset here in the Philippines. And so if we can also have other similar types of power sources like wind, solar, biomass, and these mini hydros, the better we can control our future in terms of energy security.
Solar energy is also a vastly untapped resource.
The area of solar energy research in the university is one, I suppose, that has grown out of a sense of love of our students and faculty in trying to apply some of the theories that they have learned.
The technology born out of these researches will not only serve the country financially, but harnessing these natural sources of energy will eventually contribute to worldwide greening of the environment.
This is a much better alternative to the more traditional ways of making use of energy, which is non-pollutant, as well as energy that is readily available all the time, less expensive, technically less expensive to be able to produce. This has been in the works for a good number of years.
This is very important even now as renewable energy is a major activity in this country. Of course, geothermal is one of our most important sources of energy. I believe we are second or so in the world in terms of a country that utilizes geothermal energy. We have the expertise for it. I think we should develop it even more and expand and perhaps share it even with our neighbors.
Geothermal energy, together with other sources of energy such as wind and hydropower, are now responsible for close to half of the country's electric supply.
Over 35 years ago, the Philippines was in the middle of a huge energy crisis. And at that time, they said, let's invest in harnessing geothermal. It was a very new form of energy in the world. So what we have now in the Philippines, in geothermal energy, you're just taking very, very clean steam from the ground, from extinct volcanoes, 50,000-year-old volcanoes. You take that steam off the ground, you borrow some of the heat to generate power, and then you return the rest of the water back. So it's like a very, very clean cycle.
Projects supporting the use of public utility vehicles running on alternative sources of power has slowly been rolled out in the metro, starting with Makati City's electric-powered jeepneys. The colorful icon of the Philippine public transportation system now serves as an example that, yes, a greener mode of transportation is possible.
I dream of a day when our public utility vehicles will run on some alternative fuel. This electric tricycle project is a humble beginning towards that ambitious end.
For a country still plagued with many issues, there is still much work to be done. But signs of progress, however small, have already become visible. This just goes to show that there is hope for the archipelago. Certain industries have taken the spotlight: tourism, BPOs, sustainable energy. And they all show much promise and advancement. All good things to hear for Filipinos. With much support, the Aquino administration just may be able to pave the way for a renaissance in the Philippines.